This is Face the State for Sunday, February 15th. It's my birthday weekend. More importantly, Valentine's weekend. I guess I'm dressed as Cupid's cousin for all of this. But is there enough love for voter ID in the Senate? We're explaining why it's a little more complicated than just showing your driver's license. Scott Perry, he voted for the SAVE Act, and he's also joining us to discuss funding for the Department of Homeland Security. What would the partial shutdown look like if that happens? And the latest round of memes in the race for governor. Is this the right strategy, or are candidates looking for love in all the wrong places?
CBS 21 News presents Face the State with Joel D. Smith, a look at the issues and politics that shape Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we're keeping our eyes on D.C. this week. A lot of different pieces of legislation, some of them divisive more than others. We'll get votes one way or the other. So to break some of that down, we're bringing back to the show Republican Congressman from the 10th District. It is Scott Perry. Good to have you back here, my friend.
Good to be with you, Joel. Love your suit.
Yeah, it's a thing. I know. We'll bear with that as we get through this stuff, but I appreciate you playing along a little bit. So we're going to get some serious stuff here. Department of Homeland Security. So everything else gets passed, but the funding for that is left over. We know Democrats are pushing for things like more restraints on ICE, Border Patrol, maybe that's body cameras, maybe it's removing masks. What are you hearing they actually want if they're going to vote for this? Because it really feels like a stalemate.
Well, it is a stalemate. Unfortunately, they've given us a list of 10 demands. Some are actually, I think, reasonable, the body cam ones, but, you know, we've already agreed to that. So I don't know if that's going to be enough to get them there. From my position and my viewpoint, I don't want to see anything that's going to make it more unsafe for law enforcement to complete their mission or more unsafe for the community. And so anything that would be requested that poses that situation, I think, is going to be very difficult to get by. And that's why I think we have somewhat of a stalemate. And of course, the interesting thing, among other things, is that while this stalemate is happening over immigration and customs enforcement, ICE and the border are fully funded. What's not funded is the folks that work out at TSA at the airport, the Coast Guard, Federal Emergency Management Administration, or the U.S. Secret Service. Those are the folks that are going to go unpaid, unfortunately, in this circumstance.
So my question on that is, legislatively, is there a way to do a cutout to actually fund those folks, make sure they're paid, even if you're working out details on the rest?
Sure, there's always a way to do that. But, Joel, as you probably already recognize, most people do, Washington, D.C., or Harrisburg, for that matter, is about leverage. So we want to see everything funded. And the only leverage that will be obtained by giving all those things away is nothing, right? Then because our friends on the other side of the aisle don't want to fund law enforcement. And so one of the ways to get them to fund law enforcement is to say, look, you're holding up all these other things, which they literally are.
Last question on this. Once the border czar Tom Homan got involved in Minnesota, it seems that things calmed down a bit. There was more cooperation with the local law enforcement there as well. Can that be a blueprint moving forward?
Well, that is the blueprint moving forward, Joel. I mean, this is why you don't see the kind of things that were happening in Wisconsin all around the country, because local police do cooperate with federal officials. What was happening in that city is they were releasing the criminal aliens onto the street, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement then has to go find them on the street. It's much safer for the individual in question. It's much safer for law enforcement, and for sure, it's safer for the community if the federal officials can just go pick them up at the jail where they are anyhow. Remember, these people have already had a run-in with the law. That's why they have this problem. But if the local law enforcement is forced by their local leaders to set them free to prey on Americans again, then they're out on the street and they've got to be tracked down and chased down.
Well, we've seen it both ways, and hopefully everyone understands that it worked better the second way, and that can be the way we go moving forward. We'll move forward with this. The SAVE Act gets passed by mostly Republicans, almost all Republicans in the House.
Yep.
You voted for it. I think on the surface, when you say voter ID, everyone's for that. We know nationwide the polls say people are for that. When you dig into the details, it starts getting a little stickier, though, when you're talking about some IDs, I got my ID in front of me right here, it doesn't show citizenship. So I would have to show something else to prove citizenship. And for some people, finding your birth certificate, they don't have a passport, it becomes a lot harder. Are you okay with, how difficult it might be for some people to get all the right things when maybe they have been voting for years and they have a driver's license?
Yeah. So let's be clear here. You do not have to prove citizenship every time you vote. You just have to prove that you're eligible to vote by a legitimate ID. You do have to prove citizenship the first time you register to vote. So when I was 18 and registered to vote, you got to bring your birth certificate, just like you do when you get a passport and many other things. So it's a matter of making sure the system is controlled so that only American citizens and only authorized American citizens are the ones that are voting. You do not have to prove citizenship every time you vote. So that would be a misnomer. And for the rest of it, look, we provide an identification card to go fly at the liquor store, to buy cigarettes at the store. My goodness, your child has to provide some kind of identification to get a library book out.
Right.
So that's not uncommon, and that's a reasonable request, I think, for almost every single American, and certainly in Pennsylvania, where the identification will be provided to you for free by the Department of Transportation.
Yeah, I think people, like I said, mostly agree with that part of it. Let's get to the mail-in voting part, though.
Yeah.
They will need to have that second layer of identification to get a mail-in ballot. Is that right?
Well, you're still going to have to, again, provide some kind of identification to get a mail-in ballot. You will still be able to get a mail-in ballot. Again, the mail-in voting isn't changing in the Save America Act, but you will be required to prove who you are, which is reasonable. Why should there be a different standard if you're mailing it in as opposed to if you're walking in? It's this, you're doing the same thing, you're voting. So same standard for the same action.
We're down to our final minute here, unfortunately, but I wanted to get to this. The Divesting from Communist China's Military Act. Give us a once-over on that.
Well, the once-over is that the United States Department of War determines who they're buying things from through a list. And on that list are, unfortunately, people that or companies that are affiliated with the Communist Party of China. But there are other lists that the government has that don't include that, and the military buys from them as well. What I would like to see, and what many would like to see, is no purchasing from parties or companies affiliated with the Communist Party of China. And so that essentially that legislation homogenizes that list. It puts it all together as one. If you're on the one list, you're on the other list, and you can't participate in the Department of War's purchasing in America. We can't certainly be buying products and equipment from people that are our enemies, and one is the Communist Party of China.
Did those companies do an end around to even start working in the U.S.?
Yeah, they absolutely do. They often change their name, or they will buy another company, or they will be housed within another company. They continue to move around, so it takes constant vigilance.
Interesting. All right, well, I'm going to just accept this as your final answer, that in the spirit of love, you still love what you do. Quick answer, yes?
Well, what I do is fulfilling. It's not always pleasant, and certainly not easy.
Okay. Well, we know that as well. By the way, it's an election year, in case you didn't know. So I'm sure we'll see you down the road.
Yes, sir, Joel. And I hope there's a lot of love to go around then, too.
One way or the other, we'll get there. Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir. God bless you. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So new families feeling a totally different kind of love than they have before because a new person is in their family, in their orbit. We're talking about what should happen in those scenarios, and possibly new parents, time off should be guaranteed. We're going over that next. Welcome back. My next guest is working to make life easier for new parents. He is one himself. It is Allegheny County Democratic Senator Nick Pisciottano. Good to see you, sir. And tell people about your parenthood and what you got going on.
Well, my wife and I were blessed to be joined by twins, a daughter and a son. About 3 months ago, we already have a 4-year-old. And so we've been really looking forward to growing our family. And as a legislator, I always want to make sure that other folks have the opportunities to grow their families as well and, stay here, grow up here, grow their family here. And so we've been looking at some options in Harrisburg to do just that.
So as a lawmaker, I'm familiar with what kind of health coverage you guys get. Do you have family leave yourself?
Yeah, as an elected official, I'm basically the boss of my office, right? I'm
Yeah.
elected to a 4-year term, and so I don't have really any kind of leave. Almost like a small business owner would have. I take the time that I have available when I want to, but I know that that's not an option for my staff, and that's not an option for the folks that I represent. And so we're trying to change that here in Pennsylvania.
So what are you looking to offer? What's the right amount of time? We know that those first few weeks and months are so critical to make that bond with parents. We know that most places will give women 3 months, and that's how that goes. But I think you're looking for something different here.
So there's already a federal rule, Family Medical Leave Act, mandates that you have 12 weeks after the birth of your child that you can't be fired, but those weeks are unpaid. And in today's economy, having unpaid time is almost the same as having no time at all. And so what we're looking to do is matching up with those 12 weeks to mandate that women giving birth and fathers who are welcoming new babies to their families have a paid leave for that 12 weeks. And so we're open to negotiation, but we do think that it's very important that those first couple of months that parents are able to be present with their newborns and spend time with them. And the research has shown that that has benefited both the children and the adults. And even if you're not for it for the moral reasons, if it's the right thing to do, it's good for our economy. It's good for our workforce. It helps attract and retain people here in Pennsylvania. If they know that when they make the decision to start a family, that they're going to have those supports in place to be able to kick off their children's lives in the best possible manner.
What are you looking at for how big a company would need to be? It seems with a huge company, you can offset that if you only have 3 or 4 employees, having to pay for a whole different person for another 3 months on top of that might be tighter.
Yeah, and we understand that. Our bill includes a new fund that would help small businesses, 10 or 50 or less employees. Again, we're open to negotiation on where that line would be. And we understand it would be harder on the mom and pop shops versus the Walmarts of the world who are already absorbing some of these costs, especially in other states where these policies exist. And we want to work with the business community to make sure this isn't burdensome, but also recognize the benefits that this would have for families and children to be able to have this leave. And so our bill envisions a fund that would be able to help offset the costs for smaller businesses, recognizing that larger businesses can already absorb those, and in many cases are in other states where these policies already exist.
Is there a number you have in mind that would make sense?
I think in the bill, it's 50 employees or less would be eligible for this fund. But as you know, in Harrisburg, that's always part of the negotiation.
That's the one side of it.
Lines.
Yeah, the other side of it is how much would it be? And because every employee is paid differently, so how would that work out?
Our bill is just straight paid leave. So you have access to those, whatever you're getting paid over those 12 weeks normally.
Yeah.
And again, the negotiation is possible there. The thing with parental leave, as it relates to other things like medical leave, is there are only so many people who are going to be eligible for parental leave, and people are only going to use that so many times during their lives, right? It's a definite event. So you can actually kind of look at those things and estimate those costs up front, rather than medical leave, which, could be much more expensive because of people couldn't take advantage of medical leave at any given time in their life when they're sick or injured.
I'll wrap this up. Quick answer on this. Other states have this?
Oh, yeah, there's paid leave programs of all kinds of different sorts in different states, but there are surrounding states like New York and New Jersey have paid leave programs.
Got it. Let's get on to this. We're talking AI. We've talked about different pieces of this and the dangers. The governor talked about this in his address when he was talking about the budget. He mentioned there's even a chatbot telling people that it was licensed to practice medicine in Pennsylvania. I went online. I was looking at this, character AI, and, there's a couple disclaimers here and there, but the rest of it just tries to give out advice, and they do it in different kinds of modes. There can be sexy doctor mode. There can be normal doctor mode. It's crazy, but it's giving out advice. Some of the stuff sounds really legit. What are you guys thinking could be done about this?
Well, I think you're going to see a flurry of AI-related bills in the legislature this year. You saw that the federal government talked about preempting a lot of this AR regulation, and you saw a bipartisan pushback against that, because each of the states have the responsibility to protect their citizens in the way that they see fit from some of the dangers of this emerging technology. And we don't want to hamper the technology. We want it to develop. We want it to be out there in the world doing good for people. But we also realize that there are very significant challenges on things that can basically speak for themselves, right? In the governor's example, in his budget address, is obviously a problem if there's a computer somewhere spitting out medical advice without any kind of oversight or jurisdiction. Right. We have some language, Senators Kane, Miller, Pennycook, and I, that I'm hopeful will be able to be moved out of the Senate this spring, that basically creates disclosure language so that you should know that you're interacting with an AI bot. Sometimes it's hard to even tell, right? And that should be very clear to consumers up front that they're talking to AI rather than to a normal person. There's some other bills in the legislature that I've sponsored or co-sponsored related to the use of AI and things like insurance clarifications and things like that. We need those guardrails in place to make sure this technology doesn't hurt people.
Well, I appreciate you guys working on those. I know how tough it is to stay ahead of the curve because stuff's changing so fast, but you got to see around corners on this stuff, and you guys are on top of it the best you can, so I appreciate that. And good luck with the little ones, and we'll see where the next bill goes as well. Good to see you.
Thank you.
It is our CBS 21 Political Insiders time. I don't know what they're going to be wearing. I said, guys, be in the spirit. It's Valentine's weekend for me, for the birthday. We'll see what they come up with. But we're also going to be sparring a little bit. I don't want them to calm down too much because there's a social media campaign you got to see to believe. Very controversial stuff coming up. Favorite time of the week. We're joined by the CBS 21. What is going on over here? For years, you give me so much flack, and now look at you.
Yes, I did.
It looks like we're having a gender reveal party, and guess what? It's a girl. Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, these are the 21 Political Insiders, Democratic strategist Tony Lepore, and Mr. Clean over here, and that is Charlie Giroux. All right, we will calm down and have a good moment here, but we are talking about what we just heard a little bit earlier in the show with Scott Perry. He talked about this SAVE Act. Looks like it can't get through the Senate necessarily. What's the biggest hangups that you're seeing in there?
Well, you're right. It's not getting through. And here's the problem. They're making it so unbelievably difficult for normal people to vote. And you heard it from him. I mean, if I want to vote by mail, I've got to go 2 or 3 different steps to vote by mail. Why is that? Why can't we just make it a little easier? What are they hiding from? What are they afraid of?
What do you think? Well, everyone likes the voter ID part of this, though. I mean, even Democrats overwhelmingly say they like the voter ID part.
But they're going a little step further. What if I can't find my, citizenship papers to vote? I have my card to vote. I have my driver's license.
And again, Tony, you misunderstand the bill completely because it's not to vote, it's to register one time. So the Democrats used to say, oh, no voter ID. But then the polls overwhelmingly said the American people want voter ID. Now they're saying, oh, we're okay with that. But you can't have a process in order to register. Here's the problem. The far left of the Democrat Party now says that non-citizens should be allowed to vote. And that's why we need the SAVE Act. Unfortunately, you're right. It probably won't get through the Senate, not because there isn't support there, but because of the filibuster rule that
which they're going to keep.
Many on your side wanted to get rid of just a little bit ago.
Yep, it's still there. It's still there. So, and you heard even Scott Perry talk about it, like the politics involved. You like some pieces, not others. You force the whole thing in there. Let's get to this. The trolling is in full effect, at least from Stacey Garrity's side. Let's take a look at some of these stuff. Shapiro failed us. He had his book out, and the book, they say, is a short story right here of what he accomplished. That's what they're saying in this, if you could see the whole thing. There was another one where she's trying to link some of his donors to the Epstein files as well. So the memes are out there. From the other side, they're saying that she's connected to Steve Bannon, and so there's this. Can you really gain traction fighting a campaign this way?
Not much. I mean, frankly, not too many people pay attention to this stuff. It's the back and forth that occupies campaign staffs.
Yeah.
And Tony's laughing because he knows well. We've both done it.
Yeah.
But
They
honestly,
put effort into it, though. I mean, they're making
they
these things.
do.
I know they're not hard to
but
make. I'm
until
making
you
money
put
every week.
real money
But-
behind the message, it
Yeah.
doesn't really carry.
Okay.
And that is truth. Unless money's driving a message, it means nothing or next to nothing.
All right. So the next topic we're going to talk about here is when it really comes to the Gallup poll. Did you hear about this? They're going to end this thing when it comes to the presidential, what is it? The approval rating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the lowest ever is Donald Trump. He's been low for a long time, but now they're not even going to do it anymore. So we're going to miss this. 1930s. You remember this back in the day? It was great, right?
Yeah, I was around in the 1930s. No, it's the end of an era, and it's sad. I mean, I'm a traditionalist. I love this stuff, and I hate to see it go by the wayside, but the Harris poll did long ago, and the Gallup polls.
Was it useful for campaigns? Like, what did they do with it?
I think it was more useful for talking points than anything else. The real polling isn't, who likes who and who likes what, but the true underneath it data that is.
Well, the
so helpful.
issues are going to stay, and that's what Gallup says they're going to stand on at this point.
Yeah, I think everybody should just wait a couple years after Trump's gone. Somehow the Gallup poll will be back then. I think Trump leaned on them. His numbers were at 37. He wants it gone. It's gone.
We're going to talk about climate right now. The rollbacks came this week, and it was Donald Trump getting rid of some of those things that have been there since the Obama administration. It's going to change the way that vehicles are implemented and what they can do. There's different angles on this. Let's take it from the Republicans. Why would they want to roll these back?
Well, with all the global warming we've seen recently, the whole climate debate became very silly under the Biden administration and a couple of administrations prior to that. And everybody wants a good environment. Everybody wants a clean environment. But the way that they were going about it was self-defeating, overregulated, and in some cases nonsense.
But what's going to be the benefit, though, of getting rid of those things?
You'll have more economic growth, and you'll have a safe environment besides.
What do you think?
Well, on one hand, I agree with something that Charlie said. Everybody wants a safe environment except Donald Trump. That's what I do.
He's the only guy that doesn't want to.
That's the only guy that doesn't want it.
Yeah, well, he's also saying that this will, help with vehicles because they won't be stuck with regulations. They'll bring down the price of vehicles.
It may, but what kind of world are we going to live in?
What's kind of
for our
interesting
kids
is that the Democrats in Michigan tend to support the proposals that President Trump is making.
Yeah.
Why? They make cars.
They make cars. That's
One last thing here. Layoffs in Pennsylvania in January, the third most in the country. How would you use that if you were a Republican working with Miss Stacey Garrity?
This is the Shapiro economy.
Okay.
That
How do you
little
defend
blurb-
it?
This is the Trump economy. It comes
there
directly
it is.
from Trump.
There it is. Okay, I'm going to come back, and we're spreading the love today. That's why we have so much pink on, and we're thinking about Valentine's. The things you guys love most about politics, that answer coming your way next. Plus, somebody made an AI video that some will think is entertaining, especially if you like Cupid. What do you love about politics?
I love that I get to debate my friends on the other side and really make a change, an opportunity to make a change.
Okay, what about you?
It's the people you meet, the relationships you build, and even when you can, cross aisles and make friends.
Okay, well, we're all friendly when we look at this. I thought we would just turn ourselves into Cupids. Look at this. We are aiming for love. Probably in all the wrong places, but here we are, and we are ready to shoot for the moon when it comes to this. Guys,
That may be your worst effort yet.
the worst one? Okay. All right. We don't always hit our target when we're going for those, but we can just do our best to try. I wish everybody a great Valentine's Day. If you don't celebrate Valentine's Day or Valentine's Day weekend, just celebrate my birthday. It's more fun anyway. We'll see you next week, everybody, wearing something different.
Happy birthday.
Yeah,
Thank
happy
you.
birthday, bud.
All right.